Did you know that the reply all button is a nuclear bomb which could blow up in your face if misused? We're going to talk about that button and many other forms of email etiquette today. What's up? You're watching Tito Talks English Mondays, once again with your favorite Tito Miguel, who loves to make communication lessons easier to understand for both agents and clients. Magandang Monday po sa atin lahat. Thank you so much for joining us once again today. Let me apologize. I was not able to produce anything last Friday. It was quite a busy week for me as well, but I am still glad that you guys are here today because we got a special session. Today, we're talking about some basic email etiquette rules. 7 basic email etiquette rules specifically designed by your Tito to help improve the way you communicate with your clients and your colleagues. Now, as agents, we've already established in a previous video that emails are quite vital to the way that we communicate with our potential customers. It's probably now one of the only ways that we could send our messages, quotations, sometimes even policy copies to our clientele, especially with the pandemic right now. And if you missed that video, wherein we talked about the importance of email and things you should not do or not say in your email, you can check out that video right here. Now, on to our main topic for today. Now, when we say the term etiquette, this refers to, or if you look in a dictionary, the term etiquette is a noun, which refers to a set of rules, socially acceptable rules for people who are using the same tool, people in a certain community, people in a certain industry, so on and so forth. And the people who use emails, that's probably everyone in the world with a computer and an internet access, share this particular activity. And there are socially acceptable things, or there are proper things to do and not to do with your emails. And this is what etiquette is all about. Following etiquette represents yourself or presents yourself as a person who understands what the tool is and can handle the tool maturely. People who do not follow etiquette, on the other hand, may rub their customers or their recipients off the wrong way. And if you are emailing a potential client, you do not want to rub off on your customer the wrong way. This is why these sets of rules or these forms of etiquette are necessary. But don't worry, they're not too difficult, but they are rather important. And let's start with number 1. Ah, yes. Autocorrect. Such a lifesaver, as most people may have discovered. It's mostly used with a lot of email applications, Yahoo, Gmail, and even Microsoft, where it has an autocorrect function. But I would like to emphasize that it is not as helpful as you think. The most that these applications or these assistants do is check if you're misspelling any words or not using proper punctuation, so on and so forth. They're your basic mistakes. Things that you can already check yourself if you reread your email before you send it, which you should. However, what these autocorrect functions cannot do is check for context. What is the general message that you're trying to say? What's the core of this sentence or this paragraph that you're creating? You cannot dictate that to the autocorrect. So although you're using proper punctuation, although none of your words are misspelled, you could end up with a really long, really senseless, and really confusing statement in your emails. So it's not enough. And in order to remedy this, like I said earlier, you really have to reread your emails. Or you may want to check out this free autocorrecting tool known as Grammarly, which I'll link in the description as well. Quite useful, and it helps you create more concise and brief and specific emails as well. Now, I said earlier, the reply all button is a nuclear bomb, which could ruin your reputation to your client, especially if you're talking on a thread involving a lot of people. And that does happen, especially when it comes to claims. Now, with that being said, when you hit on the reply all button, I think we already know what that particular function does. Every intended recipient of the email, including people in the CC and BC sections of the email, will see whatever it is you have to say in your email. That's why it's called the reply all button. So, why is it considered a nuclear bomb? Well, for starters, the people who will be seeing your response may not need to see it anymore, and you'd simply be wasting their time. Sometimes there are cases wherein your information or the information you need to send is quite sensitive, especially when you're transmitting important sensitive personal information of your client to people who need to know them, such as your underwriters, such as your claimsmen, such as the branch head of the branch you're communicating with. These are very sensitive, and not everyone needs to know that. So for you to blast out your customers' information, your responses, is not exactly tactful in a way. Now, there are cases wherein dapat naman everyone should be notified, especially if you are supposed to update this group of people about your progress with a certain task, with a certain concern, with a certain issue. So that means there are cases wherein the reply all button is actually used. But be careful, not all the time, especially if you're working inside a larger agency wherein a lot of memorandums and a lot of updates are sent en masse to everyone. You might want to be careful when you hit that reply all button, double check and make sure that your message is safe for all the recipients, and every recipient needs to know whatever it is that you have to say. Less is more. That's actually very, very important, especially when it comes to emails. Take note, you're not writing a novel. You're not writing a fluff piece. You're not writing a human interest article. You're not a creative writer. Well, at least in your email. I mean, you can be a creative writer, but not in your emails. These emails are meant to deliver specific messages to relay information to the intended recipient. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't try to be funny. Don't try to be cute. Don't try to be charming. Your goal here is to relay information in the most concise manner as possible. As you might have noticed, reading a lot of emails on a daily basis is not actually an enjoyable task. And if you make that task more difficult by making your paragraphs wordy, too highfalutin, it doesn't really help your image as an agent trying to sell insurance to a potential client. The less words you use in your email creates a more professional image that shows your customer, hey, I don't want to waste your time. Here's what you need to know. If you have any questions, get back to me. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. And if you can get that idea across with a minimum number of words, trust me, it's going to be a lot more impactful than a long-winded email. Replying within the day. Tito's guilty of this as well because of the sheer number of emails that I receive. But that is no excuse, especially if they are requests from potential clients, requests for quotations, questions from potential clients. You do not want to leave those hanging. And a general rule of thumb is that you need to reply within about 24 hours. You need to send something back. Well, Miguel, what if they want me to do something complicated and I cannot do it for the day because I have a lot of things to do, you know? I'm also busy. That's actually a good point. Now, the thing here is you don't have to complete their requests within the day. What we're saying is you need to reply within the day. At least acknowledge that you've received the email and you're going to take action on whatever it is that the email is asking for you to do. That's what's important. Let the recipient or let the sender know that you've received their email and it will be taken into consideration. It's understood, action will be taken, and they can expect something from you, which you have to set their expectations. And that has to be done within about 24 hours. If not, which you can still do, yeah, it's fine. You can still reply to an email 2-3 days later on, but
thing is, you're risking your sender losing interest in whatever it is they were talking to you about, especially if it's a potential sale. If you don't respond to their emails immediately, they could probably look for someone else, and you most certainly do not want that. It sounds like a librarian, right? Don't shout in your emails. So what do we mean when we say don't shout in your emails? Am I not supposed to include voice clips in my emails? No, 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 no. Please don't. Don't include voice clips in your emails. But what we mean when we say don't shout is you might want to avoid using all caps, especially in the subject line. That's really, really crucial because it rubs people off the wrong way. I know there's a psychological impact when someone reads something in all caps. That means it's very, very important. That means something is very, very urgent, which could be true. Your email, your message could be very, very important. It could be very, very urgent. But when you have something urgent, it's all right to use the word urgent with proper capitalization, especially if it's the first word in the sentence. But if you do it in all caps, it does sound a little too overbearing. Hoy! Basahin mo to! Ngayon din! Kailangan mo mag-reply agad-agad. And that's not the image you want your recipient to receive whenever they get something from you, especially if that's a customer. So please, don't shout. Moderate your voice. Moderate your tone. Even if it's something important, you can use proper punctuation as well. An exclamation point would be sufficient enough, especially if it is an urgent email. This one, I get a lot of this. Fonts really do matter, and it goes in relationship with one of the previous rules I've said. Don't try to be fancy, don't try to be funny, and most certainly, don't try to be cute in your emails, which is why I would want to be very, very specific about this because I see this most of the time. Never, and I'm not kidding, never use Comic Sans in an email to a potential client. Now, if you're horsing around with your friends and your colleagues, yeah, sure, that's fine. But if it's a client, you do not want to use Comic Sans or any other childish style of font. You're not sending a birthday party invitation. You are not emailing a child. So the font should not be appealing to these people. You want to keep it simple and you want to keep it professional. Now, your best option to go to, and thankfully, some email applications such as Gmail and Yahoo do not allow you to use Comic Sans. Thank goodness. However, you do have some options, and Tito has some recommendations for you. Arial is fine. It's really super plain, like super, super plain and super, super boring. But if you're that kind of person, then yeah, you can go for it. That's a lot safer than Comic Sans. Also, if you want to use Times New Roman, that's okay, but it screams MS Word. so, so old fashioned, but it is okay nonetheless. For a more modern look, but still professional, you may want to go with either Tahoma or Verdana. Those are really, really great picks. They're not too they're not too old fashioned, and they're not too boring to look at, but they still look sleek and professional. And finally, of course, every professionally sent email must have a signature. That is your trademark. That is your stamp of approval on your email. And it also serves a very, very specific purpose. If your email is forwarded amongst other people inside the recipient's organization, if you're emailing a company, your signature allows these people to identify who you are and get your contact details right away. Whether that's your mobile phone number, your website, or your email address, they're all supposed to be there, which means when you create your signature, it has to contain those details. On top of that, it has to be plain and simple enough so as not to confuse or mislead your recipient. Have you ever seen an email signature that has so many quotations from so many people? Be kind to others. Do not do to others what you want them to do unto you. And sometimes you even have Latin. What you call these? Sometimes you even have Latin quotations in email signatures. Those are okay as long as you keep them to a minimum. I understand you want to have some style, you want to have some flair, and that's understandable. But the core of your signature should be your position, your name, and your contact details. Never forget these. And with that being said, that concludes our lesson for today. 7 very very important rules for etiquette that you should keep in mind whenever sending out emails. I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as I did sharing it with you guys today. And if you do have any more suggestions, tips, comments, or questions, feel free to leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment to my channel. I would love to hear from you. So, once again, this is your favorite Tito Miguel, always saying, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.